Hello, welcome back. My name is Holger Heinze. I'm from Unromantic Consulting.
And my name is Moritz Beck. I'm working for novomind from Hamburg.
We have a talk for you on KPIs and conversational commerce. On the website, there's a German flag next to it. We're speaking English. That means we're going to speak English, but do it in a German way. There will be a lot of facts, it will be romantic, and it will be very funny, because that is what Germans are known for.
Obviously.
We'll look at how to find out where to actually do conversational business. Where does it pay off? How do I measure what I'm doing? What processes and roles do I have to establish? How will I decide if I have a business case? And then there'll be a recap. So, first question is, how do I find out where to do conversational business, where to implement channels and different tools? So, first thing is, find the situations in which your customers leave you, because that means you're missing a channel or information. Look at your exit pages. Look at your analytics on your website, on your channels. Where do people leave you? That is where you should think about if a conversational action, if a channel, if offering a way to talk to you might keep those people right there. Also, and this might sound trivial, but sometimes it seems very hard for people, ask your customers. When they leave you, why did they leave? If you have somebody logged in, they don't complete a purchase, instead of sending them an email saying, oh, why don't you finish your purchase? Ask them, what's the problem? What's the matter? What we want to do is develop empathy for the journeys that they're on and their individual steps, and then know their journeys and test them regularly. I'll give you one example. I'm here now at the summit. I was making my decision of whether to drive here with my car and park it, or whether to just stay at home like I've done for the last year and a half in my pajama pants and do the talk from home. There was one thing that was bothering me, and that was, where do I put my car? Because I'm really not, I haven't practiced that for a while. So I went on the website, I went to the chatbot, and I put down, where do I park? And I got an answer 45 minutes later with the nearest parking garage. That was nice. Was I too stupid to go on Google Maps and find the nearest parking garage? No. Was I too lazy? Yes. Knowing that and giving me a solution for that, that is empathy for the customer, and that is how the summit got me to get here, how they converted me to get here. This is where you want to go. The example was actually, for the next one, the situations where your customer leave you is the one thing you look at, and the other one is where they don't even come to you. Look at your customer life cycle. Which phases are you missing out on? Look at your product life cycle. Do you have a product where you know that it will break at a certain point in time, but for some reason your customers aren't interacting with you? If you're selling them a car, but they don't come to you for the regular inspection or for tire changes, you're missing out on a part of the life cycle. Figure out if that is where you want to do some sort of a conversational offering where you talk to them, where you have a WhatsApp channel that will remind them winter is coming, and surprisingly this year there may be snow, and surprisingly you will need winter tires. Establish something like that using the life cycles, know your customer that way, and that way you can know where to implement the measures. Now when you have them, the question is, how do I measure? Now here's going to be a long list of KPIs, and you probably know most of them, to be honest. Look at, and this is the unromantic part of it, right? These are blank, boring, rational KPIs that we need to look at. Customer satisfaction, your employee satisfaction. It's not uncommon that you implement a chatbot that the customers like and your employees hate, and then you're going to lose the employees. So look at their satisfaction as well. Then look at the KPIs of your incidents. That's the duration per inquiry, cost per inquiry for customers and for employees. Probably know all this stuff if you're listening to this talk. Look at cart volume, conversion rate, customer acquisition cost, and then measure calls to other systems. How many times did your bot have to look up something from the ERP or from a booking system or from the CRM? Because that is how you learn, and if you don't have those interfaces, you will have to learn where they should have made a lookup into other systems, but they didn't. So we call this unromantic. Why? Because what we want to look at, there's another one. Now we group them, the unromantic KPIs, and here's just a couple of examples on how to look at them with segments, how to make them smart. So look at your conversion rates, look at the duration of your inquiries, look at the cost, by channel. Look at the individual channel and then look at your channel switches and group them. How is my conversion rate for customers who start out on my website and then convert to the chatbot? How is my conversion of customers that start out in WhatsApp and stay in WhatsApp, and then those who start out on WhatsApp but for some reason switch over to the website? Understand how customers switch. We know from studies that there is no prime way for the switch or direction. Some customers like it this way, some like it the other way. What we do know is that the biggest lever for getting the conversion rate up is giving them the opportunity to switch whenever they want to. Then look at your KPIs and group them in the context of your conversational business introduction. So look at your conversion rate, what is it like, and then look at what is it with or without your conversational interactions, and then before or after you made changes to the system or you introduced a new channel or a new offering. There's more. Look at the switches and then look at the customer groups, obviously, and try to find out by demographic or by card value segment. Do people below or under 100 euros of card value like the chatbot more or less? Try to learn from that. Lastly, look at the journeys. Understand your customers' journeys, understand what they're needing, what they're looking for, and then put the KPIs in the context of those journeys, and you will see that different journeys obviously will have different KPIs, and then add another dimension and look at your conversational effects. Now, once we have that all out of the way, let's look at the romantic KPIs, because what we're doing here is building relationships. That's really one of the points we try to make in this talk, the relationship numbers. So look at your customer retention rates, employee retention and turnover as well, so your inside relationships. Look at the impact on your recurring purchases. Does the frequency change? Does the card value change? What is our share with this customer? If we are a bike manufacturer, how many % of the bikes in that customer's basement do come from us? And how many does he or she buy from another bike manufacturer? And why? Look at all those, again, segmented like we had in the slides before. Look at the ratio of your commercial and your relationship interactions. You have interactions that are purely commercial, where you want to convert and you want to make money. There are other where you're building the relationship. How is the ratio of those interactions to each other? What's the impact on the customer lifetime value? Can you actually up the customer lifetime value by building a relationship with that customer? Then obviously the churn rate, how many customers did we not lose because we gave them some way to talk to us and to build a relationship? And lastly, what's my human handoff rate? The last KPIs we want to throw in there is, how do you measure sustainably? And that means conversational business, implementing a chat function or a voice assistant. That is not a one-time thing. It's been said about 20 times today. It will probably be said another 20. It's not a one-time thing. So look at it as a journey, as a way of learning, and you need KPIs for that. So one of the things we look at is, how many new products did you launch based on what you learned from your conversational business? How many new journeys did you implement? How many trainings of agents? Go back to my little tiny trivial example. Look at the chatbot and you will find out there's people who ask for the parking spaces. That is something you need to learn. So if it is one of the top topics that comes up, put it on the website. Make it even easier, because there is still, what am I looking for? Eine Hürde.
The barrier.
There's still a barrier to go on the chatbot and reveal to the chatbot that I'm too lazy to look for a parking house. So make it easy and measure how much you learn from that. With that, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's also very important to see what processes and roles we have to establish to do conversational business. And we made a little list of things that we learned in different projects. And I would say the most important part is that you really have to find and arrest your stakeholders for the project. Especially the legal team, because we're still talking about WhatsApp, we're still talking about conversational through commerce, through channels that are on non-European servers sometimes. Get those guys into the team as quick as possible, because they're going to be the biggest pain in the whole project, just to get it rolling. Also, find someone who's really the owner of the measurement, who really who sits down and is in charge of owning of the measurement data. So you can always refer to that person in the project. And then there's also, yeah, let's say, it's not the important, not the most important part, but the measurement guy, or they have to, how do you say that? They have to live, or they have to be also part of the bot team, because they have to know where to look at and where are the entries and the entries are, and yeah, where to develop the whole system. Also, and that's what I learned really hard on one project, is that you really have to establish a learning process inside of the team, because it's pretty damn new. So there is no plan A and plan B. Most of the times it's plan, let's say, Y or Z, where came into then. And it's really important that you establish the learning process with your team and not for your team. Also, and that's, I would say that's the most important thing, is that you have to convince your management that the whole conversational business thing is not a thing. It's a dynamic deployment. It's not static. It is developed every day. It's never done. You always continue developing, because customers talk to you and they give you new questions. Maybe the next question will be, where can I park my car? Or maybe another person is coming with a scooter. So maybe they want to know where the scooter is parked at. So you have to still think about the dynamic aspect of the whole project. So let's say you want to do business, you want to do conversational business. How do you decide if you have a business case?
So the first point really is, don't. If at all possible, don't understand conversational business as a one-time thing where you can calculate an ROI. That's like deciding if you take your lover out to dinner by doing an ROI calculation. Don't do it like that. Look at a continuous effort to build relationships, because that is worth more to your customer than, okay, that is a bunch of stupid questions, let's let a chatbot handle that. That's not sustainable. So invest in a relationship and understand you have to do it, because if you don't do it, someone else at some point will. They will have empathy for the customer, they will make that investment, and they will win that customer from you. However, we do know that there is also a reality in our everyday lives. And when we come with conversational business projects to deciders, they will want to know a business case. So we have brought some numbers for you.
Of course we did. First of all, how to calculate conversational business project costs. We got a number, we got a few numbers listed up here. Most of the things are software-based stuff. You obviously need a server. You need something like channel integrations. We already heard about different software vendors bringing you different channels. My personal opinion, I don't know if you feel comfortable with that too, but my opinion is always offer as many channels as you can, because you will always find a customer that is on a very, very niche messenger. But if you can serve that messenger, it doesn't matter for your company. It doesn't cost more. Do it. Most of the software vendors we are listening today did exactly that, and they offer all the channels for the same pricing. And then go with that and stick with that, and always always push your software vendors for bringing up more messenger channels or other channels. And yeah, then you will be fine. Also, it's important to think about conversational design as a special thing, because people talk and chat different on messengers than they do on a web chat, or they do on a mail, or as we are Germans, on fax devices. So you have to think about that topic, and have to think about that also a chatbot has to understand what XOXO or KK or stuff like that means. You have to think about the natural language processing a lot, and also to find solutions for that part of the cost system. Also, very interesting part is thinking about or calculating costs for middleware, connecting your chatbot system or your chat software with different ERP or CRM programs or software, because most of the time, the vendors, the software vendors for chatbot software or for conversational business software, naturally don't come with a solution for a middleware. So obviously, most of them they have APIs and an open API structure, but most of the time they don't have a middleware implemented or even have software people sitting there, developers for implementing those those API middleware systems. Obviously, you have analytic costs, otherwise we wouldn't talk about measurement. But let's go to the next slide.
Yeah,
We
but
find
don't
a bit more.
forget them. You know,
yeah.
sometimes you don't have them in the budget, and then you ask after the implementation. So, what do your KPIs look like? And the answer is, well, we're not really measuring a lot because we forgot to put that in the budget.
Yeah. And as I said, it's a dynamic process. So if you have a dynamic process, then I will come to that on the next slides. There's a circle you have to be aware of, and it also means that analytics is like a third of the whole circle and one of the most important things, because there you can decide based on data and not based on romantic feelings about stuff. So that's a pretty good damn thing. Obviously, you have the standard project costs as well, management, software selection, the whole organization change processes. That's pretty obvious that you have those costs. But again, training your employees, that's also a point that you made earlier, is really important. Because, I mean, we had a project 2 years ago with 400 people sitting in a call center, and then the management said, well, now we're doing WhatsApp. And then the 400 people in the call center said, well, okay, but half of us is not able to write properly, write as that fast as you need us to write. And then they had a big change problem because they haven't been thinking about training their employees. Think about your people working with the software, not only about the software costs. Talking about software costs, obviously, we don't have to talk about that. It's obvious that software costs.
But it's not just the software cost.
Yeah,
That's the
obviously.
point.
Again, conversational business is ongoing. So as we reckon all the time, implement something, try out, fail hard, fail fast, do your analytics, adjust by data, not by feelings, and then implement again. And it is, I would say, one of the most exciting implementation areas, because you always get feedback by your customers and not by by the people who use the software. Conversational business means that you get new inputs every day on your chatbots, on your live chats, on your whatever. It's a very, very fancy thing, and it can bring whole businesses really way forward. And yeah, it's funny. It's really nice.
And this is why we talk about relationships and love in this regard, because this is like falling in love. When you have a company who's not able to play around with this, to be able to learn, to be willing to make mistakes, but build a meaningful relationship, adjust accordingly. It's like a person who is not willing to fall in love because they're afraid that they can get hurt. Yes, you will get hurt if you put out a chatbot and then you learn that it doesn't do what you need it to do, and it's not a one-time thing. That hurts. You need to learn to work with the hurt, and the hurt is in the KPIs sometimes, and then adjust, and then you can build meaningful relationships. But it does take courage, and it does take a certain amount of resilience, emotional resilience. That's
emotional resilience. Okay. So, what to take away from our little thing here? As you said,
focus on the relationship. It's not. We have it in the last one. Don't think of this as a new fad. Don't think of, oh, that's an Apple Watch. What does it do? I don't know, but it's really cool. Don't do conversation business like that. Think about it as building a relationship with your customers and invest in that.
Absolutely. Also, as we said, use your data for valid decisions, not your feelings, and measure those data very, very smart. Use segments, because data is really, really, let's say, broad. You can read almost everything out of data, but if you structure it very well, then you have a very smart measurement behind it, and then it makes sense to do that.
Look at the segments and look at the journeys.
Yeah.
Back to my example, guys running the summit should know there was at least one guy on the website who looked for parking spots parking spaces, got an answer, and now we converted him here. That build KPIs like that.
And lastly, bringing the stakeholders as early in as possible, just to make a little line towards the, let's say 15 years ago, where we've been talking about Facebook coming to Germany. It was like the age where I started working, and most of my friends were like my age at that time, and they were really like good in doing marketing for Facebook because they knew everything better than the companies did, because the companies said, well, yeah, the trainee's going to do that. I mean, the trainees, they did astonishing work there, but this thing here, conversational business, means that you really have the direct connection to the customer. So please be aware that you need, like, you really have to focus on that topic if you do it.
It's the same thing. It's not a technology question. Okay,
Yeah,
you can have departments for technology, be responsible for technology, but that is the how. That is not the why. Why are we doing this? That's the relationship. So who's responsible for the relationship to the customer?
So, and that's why we say, in that case, you don't buy software, you're building an organization and you're building smart contracts with your customers. Thank you very much.
And you're building it with love. Thank you a lot, Moritz and Holger. I have a question which goes a bit deeper into analytics and the whole KPI stuff. We had it with Garrett on stage before. Where are the limitations of tracking and attribution, especially within this ecosystem? Like, what's trackable within WhatsApp, within other applications, or crossover?
Well, I loved his answer, and his answer was, if I got it right, that is sometimes very hard, especially in Germany. You have to work around it, and that is my answer. Just work around it. I don't care. I don't. You know, there's limitations with where do you do cookie handovers? Where do you that sort of tracking? Find smart ways to do that are legal. Let your customer know that you're doing it. You know, give them an opt-out, obviously, but it's computers. Let's make them do what we need them to do to create empathetic relationships.
But if you try to work that with workarounds, you're always running after the rabbit. It's like, you know.
No, I would not say that. No, it's if you look at it as a workaround, okay, you do that. But if you look at the right question you're asking, then you don't do that. For example, I don't have a possibility to put in a link, and I cannot measure open rates on WhatsApp, let's say. Yeah? I don't have the measurement, but I can easily put in an UTM parameter link in that link, and I just have to ask the right question. So the right question would be, how many people were clicking on that link to get the answer of onto question XY, and then I have my answer to the right question. Right. So that's what I mean with workaround. You know, like you don't need the KPIs coming from directly from that messenger system.
Yeah, okay. You build the system around that. Fantastic. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having you here, and I hope you'll stay till the dinner tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks.